Hello and welcome. This week's video is going to be covering the Great Fire/earthquake of San Francisco. We're going to be observing the scenes from right after the aftermath, taking a look at some oddities, and letting you know my thoughts on it. So right here I want to give you a side-by-side comparison of the same two pictures. Now, as I say, the alterations of our history goes deep. And you can see it in this picture. This one is one of the more original ones uploaded. And one of the problems we have living in the digital age is they can go over their mistakes. As you see, the clearly altered and whited out skies here. Just look at the poor cut and paste job on these lines. Now, this is not exposure. Nothing of the sorts here. This is clearly covering up the skies. And whenever this one was originally released here on the right, they realized it. And they tried to digitally impose a more realistic looking sky, clear it up the edging a little bit, but you can still see some of the shoddy work here. And removing just this one picture here, and let's go to full size, what do you see odd here? For me, it's just the obvious looking of a scene. Like these are a bunch of extras. What are these guys on the right doing? They're shoveling debris, but where? Where's the horse-drawn carriages full of debris? Where's the ye old garbage cans? Where is the dirt on any of them? And then you just have these very well-to-do, well-dressed people walking along, observing the whole thing. But if you look, really, there's actually no work being done in any of this. Then you'll see that time and time again with these pictures. And here's right after the Great Fire. And in here at a aerial shot, see just such an odd Great Fire and earthquake. Utility poles still standing, trees still standing, but brick in complete rubble. Let me tell you what this looks a lot like to me. It looks like scenes from World War I, World War II. If you guys always ask where do I get my pictures and stuff from, Pinterest can be a great utility if used properly. Again, here's just a picture of 1906 earthquake. And here is a shot from Dresden, right after World War II. And you'll see exactly the same thing with the utility poles, the trees. All looking just like these scenes from the Great Fires. Rubble with very little scorching. Utility poles still standing. And World War II, World War I, the Civil War, many of you already know. Those were about covering up the true past. Much more than what they tell us the actual meanings of those wars were. But going back to San Francisco and after the aftermath, does it not just look like a bombing run? You still got a perfectly unscathed utility pole here. All those poles still standing, windows still intact. Scenes from a fire or scenes from a bombing. And what I'm going to show you next is a video taken shortly after the devastation. We're going to see how the crowd reacts. But I just wanted to show you some of the pictures before the Great Fire and earthquake. Some of the amazing architecture that was lost. And the clear, whited out skies, the Inticotech antennas. Put a nice little tiny flag, it looks like right here. Clearly edited in. Look at this beautiful building. Two beautiful churches, cathedrals right on the same street, next door neighbors. Just definitely having no shortage of castles. It looks like this was a National Guard building. See the antenna right up there. Absolutely amazing. This was a Ladies Protection and Relief Society building, just built in the middle of nowhere. I think a lot of these pictures, these videos and stuff that we are privy to from history are nothing more than alterations. Dates changed. Scenes are completely different than what we're told. That's what I think you're going to see at this restoration work from the Great Fire. You're going to see a lot of people standing around, not doing anything. It's almost like they just moved there. The new arrivals, the foundlings, refounding San Francisco. And here we are. Work granted with quite the scene indeed. All those poor souls standing around those buildings. All dressed in their Sunday best. Not a spot of soot on them. And no actual restoration work being done. No cleaning of the debris, no quartered off sections. Silly lunchroom stand. Some very nice looking pop-up tents. People pretending to pick up some things on the ground there, but know where they're actually putting any of it. And they all have just no reaction. It's like they're just on holiday, on vacation. To me, when you look at some of the more common words used, you got the foundlings, the buildings that were founded. This was founded architecture, founded Freemasonry. And what do you have? The people that established these cities, what do they call them? The city founders. So what if that's what we're looking at here? After the reset, after these people were tucked away in their shelters, underground bunkers, what have you, wherever they were to survive, and seemed to be well dressed for it. Perhaps these were the new founders granted the opportunity to repopulate places like San Francisco. The first set of controlled NPC masses. The ones given the narrative to follow. And they follow it. And for the opportunity to control a city, to run a old world city and all the tech that was there with it. But do you actually see any work being done here? And are these people like, they look like they're leaving church? Nobody's dirtied. Nobody looks destitute. Nobody is having any reaction to any of it. And yeah, I know it's not modern time, but where's the rescue workers searching through the debris, This guy is like hammering little piles of rocks in the middle of the street here. It's about the only work I've seen being done, at least. And you got some well-dressed people standing in line. Perhaps getting their assignments. But they all look like a bunch of poorly trained background actors. And just look at here. Completely demolished brick. Trees perfectly fine here. Very little scorching, broken windows for an earthquake. Yet certain buildings you just find completely leveled. Look at that right here. Let's go back to it here. Right there. There's still papers on this utility pole. No burning at all, yet completely surrounded by debris. Looking like an explosion rather than an earthquake or a fire. Remember, think back to those scenes at Dresden. More utility poles. And just people standing around, having a conversation, or at least pretending to. This tree. It's reminding me very much of certain scenes out of Hawaii. Tommy Bahama umbrellas left completely untouched. All around it completely destroyed and demolished. And we'll just kind of slide through here a little bit so you can see just the same everywhere. Lots of destruction. Very little scorching. Absolutely no work being done. Tons of utility poles and wooden frames still standing, but brick, stone, demolished. People just standing around kind of glaring at the camera. These almost look like the directors right here. Got him with his armed guard. And he's just standing on, directing the scene. Guy driving by on his bicycle. And what kind of fire and earthquake can just demolish building, and then across the street another demolished building, trees and utility poles across from them, completely untouched. This can't be from too long ago. You still see some smoke here, or at least some nice added effects of smoke. And another thing you see very little of in this is any kids. Oh, look at that sign that just kind of fell down. That was nice. Crowds and crowds of people all walking in uniformed order. Signs untouched. Rickety little wooden sign. Steel beam. Should have made them out of the wood from the utility poles here. Everybody's in their top hats. Thank goodness the dry cleaner survived the fire. I mean, you would have to want to dress your best. So you have loaded carts full of belongings, but they're not fire damaged belongings. They're not dirty looking belongings, mirrors and stuff like this. These are people moving in to this place, not people scrounging through the rubble for their belongings, the piecing together parts of their lives. I've lived in the Midwest in Illinois, and I've seen an entire city completely demolished from a tornado. And you see people picking through the debris for weeks and weeks looking for any parts of their life and the pieces and stuff they had. They're definitely not walking around in suits and ties, just standing off and having a good old time. No, it was a very devastating scene, nothing like you see here. And these are what I say, these are the inheritors. The grown-up foundlings from the orphan trains, the orphan asylums. So very little population for such massive city. Hey, there's some kids right there. I think that's probably some of the first ones I've seen. I guess they must have left all the kids at the nanny. Here's some more. There's a couple. And look, just, where's the ladders? Where's the scaffolding? Where's the carts and horse and buggy carting away all these stone bricks? You see none of that. And since when did any disaster zone that you can think of, people are just allowed to prance around with no actual business there? All these dressed up people are not looking for their belongings, looking for survivors. You can see in some of these clearer shots, they just look happy and smiling, striking up conversation. It's what I say. I think a lot of these videos and these pictures and these scenes that we get from the past are just staged shots. Or they tell us different times, different events. But it's clear what you are seeing here is not the survivors of a great calamity. At least not the great calamity we're told about. Here's finally some people, it looks like. Again, you have to ask, what are they actually doing? There's no piles of debris, uniform, any garbages, any carts taking off any of it. They're just standing around it. Just look at some of this impressive stone masonry that did survive. We were told that a fire just completely leveled it while saving utility poles. That one was untouched, and then you have this just whole little section gone. Again, think back to those bombings. And I'll do another video here on the Civil War soon. And perhaps some more on the whited out skies. I know you guys have been asking a lot about that too. I'd love to give you a detailed view on that. You can see the editing of the skies here in this little clip too. Very weird sign. Y with a question mark. MJB coffee. Y. And all these signs just don't look like they fit in with the buildings and architectures at all either. Slapped together, cheap little rickety signs. And it's not just because it was just a fire. You see that in a lot of these old cities. You see that angle from the buildings. You'll see that kind of little curved down angle too in a lot of these too. Controlled demolitions, controlled bombings. And a scene after a reset. But I think I'll put this whole 45-minute video on my Telegram page for you guys to digest and enjoy. I mean, the scenes just get stranger and stranger. But really, they are mostly all the same. Bunch of destruction, saving a lot of wood and trees, utility poles, people standing around doing nothing. Like, look at this. Everything is destroyed here on each side but the utility poles. But the trees. Complete devastation all around. And again, nobody's actually doing anything about it. They're just standing around, walking aimlessly. These trees are still completely leafed, among everywhere else just demolished around it. There's nothing natural about this scene, nothing natural about this fire and earthquake. Convenient, great fires all around the same time period, leveling so much of the original old world architecture. And of course, as always, these are just my own opinions. I don't claim to have all the answers, just my observations, my deductions from there. But I mean, come on, when you see scenes like this, so this is what they were able to scavenge from their home. Complete dining room table with tablecloth, beautiful sets of clothes, and even the china to go along with it, and the silverware. How lucky. There's just people with their belongings, setting up shop, finding a new patch of real estate. Appreciate you guys coming by and watching, as always. And if you want to help support this channel, you can always Venmo me or buy me a cup of coffee. The links are in the bio. You can also check out some of the merchandise I've been kind of throwing together here and there. It takes many hours to do what I do here pretty much daily, but I love doing it and I love presenting it to you guys. And I greatly appreciate your support. And if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe, share it with your friends. And make sure you check out my Telegram. You can find a lot of the information, resources. Like I said, I'll have the full video, that 45-minute long video on my page. And that has a lot of great pictures and videos that I've collected, stuff over the years from all my channels. And it's a great free resource for you guys to dig into this. Dig into the mud flood, Tartaria, mud fossils, our hidden history, Antiquitech, and so much more. It's all there free for you guys to download and share at will. And until next time, friends, question everything and have a great week.